and welcome back to the channel. Very excited to have you with me today. Today's topic is interesting. I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's a reality of traveling, and that is how to handle flight delays and long layovers. Basically, when you have to spend more time in the airport than you or your children would like. So I have 10 tips for you today. I'm going to go through them all, talk a little bit about my own experience dealing with layovers, and hopefully share some ideas that might make your travel a little less stressful or hectic next time you head out with your family. So the first is to make sure that you have adequate food and water when you travel. So I'm talking about your children's favorite snacks, water. It's tricky with security, so you can bring an empty bottle and fill it up after security, or you can buy water in the terminal. But I do recommend bringing some stuff with you. You never know what's going to be available in the airports, especially during COVID. A lot of the shops were shut down. And sometimes your kids just really want those goldfish crackers and they'll be screaming at you. And that is, of course, the one snack that you can't find in the airport, for example. So be prepared, save yourself some money, save yourself some chaos. The next thing is to minimize the risk of getting stranded somewhere unknown. And the best way to do that is to reduce the number of layovers that you have on your trip. Sometimes we accept layovers because A, we can't fly directly, or B, the ticket is substantially cheaper. But just keep in mind that every layover is a risk of getting delayed or stranded somewhere. And with kids, of course, that is likely to be more stressful than it would be if you were on your own. Third one, this is huge. Bring entertainment. I'm talking tablets, headphones, music players, whatever your kids like. I like to go with the electronics because they tend to be more economical in terms of taking up space and weight. So, bringing 5 books is a lot more cumbersome than bringing one tablet that your child could read on, could watch on, could listen to music on, etc. If you have more than one kid, I would suggest having one electronic device for each kid. They're not great at sharing. We've tried traveling with one tablet with our 2 kids. It tends to lead to fights, especially when people are tired and nerves are frayed. So worth investing in more than one device. The next one is definitely controversial and not everyone's going to agree, but my recommendation is to fly at night. And the reason for this is because your kids will likely sleep through much of the journey. And so if you get to the airport, say around dinner time, you feed them and you're preparing for a late flight, and then there happens to be a delay, they may just sleep through the whole thing. And it may be that, okay, you arrive at destination at 4 a.m. instead of 2 a.m., but your kids are asleep, so they don't really care anyway. Now, there is a price to pay for this, which is they may be cranky at the other end. And also, you might have to carry them through the airport and through part of the journey. But in my opinion, the benefits definitely outweigh the downsides. And the worst time I think to travel is afternoon. That's when my kids are the most energetic, want to be moving around, and don't want to be sitting waiting for a flight. The next one is lounge passes. I recommend splurging on lounge passes if you have a situation where you're likely to be delayed for an extended period of time. We did this on our trip to Mexico. We had a delay of over 10 hours at Newark Airport because of a mix-up with the tickets. So we just paid to go into the lounge. It was more comfortable, more peaceful for everyone. We were able to set up camp with a couple of chairs in a corner where my kids could watch their devices, plug them in, move around more freely. We had access to food and drink, and it was just a lot more relaxing of an experience. And there are some tips for getting access to lounges. So first of all, if you have the United Explorer credit card, you get a certain number of lounge passes every year. I believe it's 2 lounge passes per year. And also, I subscribe to a Hilton credit card that gives me a priority pass membership, and that is good in lounges across the world. I get 10 free lounge passes. They were entirely free with my credit card. I'll put a link in the description below to give you information on how to get this credit card. But I definitely keep that as my emergency reserve in case we get stranded and we just need a little more peace and comfort. Another thing I suggest is dropping your large luggage off if you're not allowed to check it in. Most of the time, if you're delayed, you will have already dropped your large bags off. But we had a situation. Imagine this, we had 2 full day delays on the Mexico trip. I'll talk about more of the Mexico trip in a future video. But we were not allowed to check in until hours after we were originally supposed to depart. And so we were stuck with our big bags and we ended up paying for checked luggage service at the airport. The next tip is related to the previous one. If you know you're going to be stranded in a certain place for a while and you've just dropped your luggage, why not take the opportunity to do a little sightseeing? So, of course, this depends on where you are. If you're at a layover stop, you might want to check out that location. If you are stuck where you just finished your vacation, for example, or stuck in your hometown, probably not ideal. But, depending on where you are, you could check out in the arrivals hall if there are any tour companies there selling tours where they take you from the airport and bring you back to the airport. They usually tell you exactly how much time you need. Alternatively, if it's relatively easy to get back into the city and return to the airport, you could check out some tours that are available during the day. If you're going to leave the airport, I would just say to make sure you know for sure when your flight is leaving, and also that you allot the usual 2 hours before the flight to get back. So you want to factor in the travel time both ways, making sure there's enough time for you to check in and go through security, and then see if you still have time for that city tour. So what if you don't want to or can't leave the airport? Well, then you want to set up camp somewhere. So we've talked about the lounge. If the lounge is not an option, I would scope out the airport and see if there's a quieter wing. So usually there's certain areas of the terminal that are really busy at different times, and then others are quite dead away from arriving and departing planes. So try to set up in an area like that. Give your kids a space to run around in, especially if you can find a long, empty hallway. You could stand one person at one end, one person at the other, and have your kids run back and forth between you. Kids really enjoy this. When we were stranded in Mexico City, we actually found an airport hotel that was attached to the airport, and they had a ground level, I guess, solarium. So it was a big open room with windows and you could see the sun shining through. And they had sofas and a Starbucks. So it was a really good place to relax, let the kids run around. They had a fountain. It was a lot of fun. And also plug in our devices, charge up, and let the kids watch their entertainment. Another thing you can do for entertainment is watch planes taking off and landing. So if you can figure out where there are large windows near an active runway, you can set up there and have your kids watch planes if they're interested. I know my son is really interested in aircraft because I am, and we share a lot of our interests in common. So that is certainly something that would entertain him. Some kids also get a real kick out of those moving walkways. So we've definitely gone back and forth along the moving walkways. You can have your kids walk against the moving walkway. It's kind of like the kid version of a treadmill. You can basically make fun out of pretty much anything that seems mundane at the airport. So finally, this tip is not so much what you do, but it's more about your mindset. Try your best, even if you're tired, frustrated, and you feel helpless in the situation. Try not to panic or get angry because your kids will mirror that behavior. And I say this knowing full well that I've been in this situation before where I've been really frustrated by a delay, and then I take it out on my kids and they, of course, regurgitate that frustration right back at me. So you just try to remain calm. Understand that delays are a necessary part of travel. They're a risk that we all take when we travel, and that they tend to be very challenging, especially for kids. So try to understand that your kids may be even more frustrated than you are. And just try to take their mind off of the stress of the situation, doing some of these things that we've just talked about. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Please comment below. Comments have not been flooding in too much on these videos, so I'm really eager to hear from my audience. Thank you so much for your participation and attention, and please continue to participate by commenting. Let me know your worst airport delay or layover stories, how you handled it. If you're a parent, some of your tips and tricks for managing those situations with kids, and let's get the conversation started. Please also remember to subscribe to this channel. The channel is growing and I'm very excited, and I hope to continue to be able to put out this content for you. So subscribe, hit the like button on these videos, and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when the next video comes out. Thanks so much. Take care.